Okay, and we are live. Welcome, everybody. As you can see, we are about to start, and we want to encourage you to ask questions if you have any. That said, we intentionally started a few minutes early because we want to let people sort of, get in here and check it out and whatnot. But if you're watching on the watch page, there's a chat box on your right, and you can drop any questions in. You can also put comments below the video if you're watching after the fact. Now, what I'm also going to show you here is the nifty little Facebook page that we've got, the event page that we have created here. Just switch over to this screen here, like so. And now you should be able to see the Facebook page. Now, again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can go ahead and drop the questions there. Or if you are on Facebook, you can come here into the discussions. I am the producer. My name is Zane Miller, and I will be monitoring everything so that if there are any questions that you watch on the watch, or if you have any questions on the event page, you can go ahead and drop them right here. As you can see, here's the discussion, or if you're already on Facebook and you want to join us on YouTube, you can go ahead and click the link through. We just want to make sure that you understand that wherever you want to ask questions most comfortably, this is where you can do it. Now, if this is after the live broadcast, feel free to ask those questions. We will be monitoring those, and we will answer them right away. I dare you to answer a question and not get a response very quickly. So let's go ahead, and we've got some interesting things here for you, and something that something that the presenter thought would be a good idea, and so we want to share with you that right now. Let's get this. Just one moment. I don't have my two monitors here. Back to the screen. There we go. There we go. Okay. So again, all questions will be answered wherever you'd like, and even if you're watching after the fact, you can go ahead and ask those questions, and we will respond, because this is a very, very powerful presentation. This is the reason why we wanted to get together in the first place. So again, we got just a few minutes left. So while we're waiting, and we're waiting for the official presentation, this is something that, again, the presenter Trace had mentioned, to sort of put things into context. Some solutions are just more obvious than you think. It's Occam's razor. The most simple solutions is usually the best. Now, let me ask you guys this. We can all let our geek flag fly a little bit. Ask you, what do you all believe is the most quoted line in all of Star Trek, the original one? Not Next Generation, not any of that kind of stuff, but Captain Kirk, Spock, Scotty, those guys. All right, so we've got some suggestions here, some thoughts. Trace, what do you? Now, I already know you know the answer, but what was your initial thought when someone asked you, Trace, what's the most often quoted line in Star Trek?
I would have gone to the natural beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah,
that would be the best guess.
I'm seeing a lot of people here saying things like illogical, live long and prosper. That's another good one. But as I said, Occam's razor. Usually, the most simple is the best solution. Now, consider this. It was a space drama. The most dramatic thing is when someone's dead. So the most often quoted line in all of Star Trek, he's dead, Jim. Huh. Dead, Jim. So you'd think it's live long and prosper or beam me up, Scotty, because you hear that all the time. But really, the most obvious one that really gets you hooked and is really obvious is he's dead, Jim, or it's dead, Jim, or it's dead, period. So now that we are officially in the broadcast here, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Trace. I'm going to turn the camera over to you, Trace, for a second. I would like people to see your smiling face here. Give us a wave. All right. Now, Trace has been a loan officer for how long again?
October made 25 years, so I just hit the quarter of a century mark. So
now, part of the reason why we have you here is because you have just this massive track record of success. Tell us again. Usually, there's loan officer closes how many, and how many do you usually close?
Most loan guys in the industry close about 3 a month, which is pretty standard. I close somewhere between 12 and 15. So it's just one of those things that I get just a lot of uh, by referral clients that come to me, but lots of times it comes to me because I do rescue loans. So you'd be surprised at how many clients have their transaction on fire, or it's just circling the bull, and I get a call, please, what can you do to help these guys out? So I wasn't by design, but just kind of by luck that I came to be doing these.
All right. Well, now that we are officially in here, I'm going to go ahead and put the screen back to the slides here, but we're going to go ahead and get into the problem that you were mentioning in the first place. And the problem, it seems like a big one. It's the fact that, well, Trace, you're making the largest decision of your life with only one opinion. Do you think that's really wise?
No, absolutely not. Matter of fact, I think that look, my upbringing, my parents taught me that, you know what, whether you're making a legal decision, a medical decision, or a financial decision, you always need to get a second opinion. It's just a big deal. I mean, you know, so not too long ago, so this last summer, matter of fact, I had my 26th anniversary, and the day before, my wife didn't wake up, and it was a big deal here. Anyway, so I took her to the hospital, and she stayed there for like a week, and then I was like, nothing's happening. This is not going good. So I wanted a second opinion. I said, look, she needs to see a neurologist. And it became kind of a little bit of a fight with the hospital, but they didn't have a neurologist, and so I ended up transferring hospitals. So it got up to the University of Utah up in Salt Lake City, and about 4 days after that, they diagnosed her with a brain infection and treated her appropriately, and she was awake, and it certainly saved her life. But I will tell you this year, it was a huge thing. It was a medical issue, and I had one doctor, and it just wasn't going well. And I was like, you know what? I'm blowing my own kind of rule of thumb. I need to get a second opinion, and I did. And I got to tell you here, today she's back to normal. She's been, you know, regained her strength and her health, and it was a big deal because, you know what, she was unconscious for like 11 days. So I can tell you, it's a big mistake to not get a second opinion when getting a house. It's the largest thing you're ever going to buy, and you know what, you're not buying a candy bar where you go, oh, hey, I didn't like that Twix bar, I'm just going to throw it away because it only cost me $1, you know. So ultimately, a second opinion will help you avoid the traps and pitfalls that an underwriter is going to use to deny you here. So an example is, I'm doing a loan for this guy, and he owns a company that makes fur coats. And he came to me, and this guy did not come to me as a second opinion. He came to me as a rescue loan. So, but ultimately, I took a look at his stuff, and I said, the problem that you have is your company makes about $500,000 and expenses about $500,000. So therefore, you on paper make nothing. So, and every tax guy is going to say, look, we don't want to pay a bunch of taxes, and I get it, totally do here. But you want to buy a house, and they're going to look at how much money are you paying tax on. So I went through his corporate tax returns and found out that this machine that makes these fur coats is worth about $2 million, and he's depreciating it about $300,000 over 7 years. So annually, this thing gets less valuable by $300,000 every year. And to a bank or to an underwriter, that's money you can count on your application. So instead of putting it at zero, I put $300,000, and he qualified just fine. Now, he would tell you, oh, thank you. I would tell him, you know what, next time you need a second opinion, because you could avoid all the stress, all the angst, all the hand wringing if you had a second opinion, instead of going, oh my gosh, I'm not going to close on time, lose my deposit, and lose my appraisal money, and lose out of my home, my dreams. So the question is, would you rather a second opinion or have a rescue loan? Well, the obvious answer is I would rather have a second opinion. So anyway, I hope that makes sense to you guys. So
yeah, I'm getting a lot of yes making sense.
Perfect. So anyway, so there's a lot of people who do a lot of hard work in this world, and they work weekends and nights, and they really put in the time and the effort, and they have a awesome product or idea to show. Then there's the rest of us who go, oh man, I just got lucky, I had a great idea, and I'd like to tell you that, hey, I was in the first group where I worked hard and I paid my dues and stuff, but you know what? I didn't. I just got lucky. And you know what? The outcome to you guys is you get the benefit of being lucky as well here. So anyway, so here's what I tell you. If you're interested in having a second opinion, most loan guys will say, go to my secure website, put in your information, and I'll work through your information. I'll work through your situation, tell you where you're at. I have just a little bit better here. Is the technology I use is practically like an AI. It's an artificial intelligence. So I'll give you an example. Because of the Patriot Act and money laundering laws, when you buy a house, if you have any deposits that are larger than your home, you have to source them. So this thing is going to go out and say, hey, let's go grab your bank statements, or your Wells Fargo. Let's go grab them, put them in this folder for trace. And then it's going to say, oh, wait, I noticed you have this deposit that's larger than your pay stub. Let's go ahead and deal with this. And so I'll give you a drop down and say, look, did you get your tax returns? Did you sell something? It's an inheritance. And then you just pick one, and then it writes out this explanation letter and just puts it in the file. So it's already dealt with for the underwriter. So like I said, it's really, really slick. And it really, and in times where time is not your ally, it really helps save a ton of time here. So, but this AI helps, like I said, source out a lot of these problems firsthand and get rid of them. So anyway, so in the past, I've had a ton of these rescue loans, and the easiest way to do this here is to go through with this this link here. So I gotta tell you, I don't want to like brag and go, hey, I'm just better than anybody else. I think I'm better off. I have these resources, but more importantly, I have more times up to bat. If you have more chances up to bat, you're going to hit more home runs. And like I said, I don't think I'm better. I just think I'm better off. So because I'm the king of second opinions, my advice here is, look, if you're online as a real estate agent, obviously you're going to have clients that need a second opinion. Be happy to talk to you and talk to your clients and get them a home run. If you're another lender going, hey, you know what do I do? I've got to turn around and get more transactions going. Hey, the second opinion is an awesome, opportunity or threshold to cross here. With technology like this, I'm able to help 10 times more people than I could in the past. And it's a big deal in all the lives that I can bless and all the people I can get into a house. Okay. And if you're a client, you need a second opinion. This is obviously what I do here. But let me tell you what this is not. This is not a everyone can get a house. This is I got denied 2 other places. I'll talk to Trace. Sometimes you're just not ready, and you just need a plan to get ready, whether it be for down payment, whether it be for credit, whether it be for just whatever it is kind of holding you back here. So, but overall, you just need not only a second pair of eyes, but you need a second brain looking at the lowest cost of borrowing here. Okay. Plus you have the 25 years of experience for me here. So, if you would like to click on any of the links below or join our email list, this is a great way to do it. Now, I don't want to put Zane on the spot here, but Zane is my producer. I can tell you, I've talked to a lot of people over the years, and it's not about what you can do, but it's about how talented you are in doing it here. And this guy is, like I said, I'm not blowing his horn for any other reason other than he's just extremely talented here. And I could be in front of as many people as I can, but if I didn't have someone like him, I would not be as successful as I am now here. So that being said, Zane,
Hi.
Yeah, hey, there you go. So let's say there's a realtor out there or a loan guy that goes, hey, I want to emulate this model and do what Trace is doing. I didn't even ask you beforehand. Do you even have the bandwidth to do something like this?
Well, we had discussed this a couple of times before, and the answer is yes, but. You know as well as I do that it took a while just to get you to a point where you could jump in and we could interact with it. There's a lot of moving parts that are happening in the background and during. So actually came to a pretty decent conclusion that what actually needs to happen is that you need to be educated. And with education will also come production. There was actually a couple of weeks of working and onboarding to get to this point. But once we did, it was a pretty decent flow. In fact, we actually went through this relatively quick. We actually have a lot more time than I expected for questions and answers. So again, folks, those of you who are watching, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. We also have a couple of people here in the Hangout. Now I'm going to do something kind of crazy. Ooh, watch this. So stand back. I'm going to do something cool. Now, there we go. So now what you're seeing is you're actually seeing what I see, right? Nope. What you're seeing is the screen share of what my job is. So it looks a little bit more complicated. We're actually staring at Trace here. Let's get an icon here. This is Jerry, by the way. Hi, Jerry. And this is Troy. These are folks who are in the office. They're other lenders that we work with, and I've spent the last couple of weeks making sure that everybody understands how all this stuff works, so that when all of you come in here and join the Hangout or watch a broadcast, you're not bored to tears, and we can actually get through really powerful information. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. Again, Trace, I appreciate you introducing me, because sometimes people don't see the big picture of what's going on, but if you watch the broadcast, I'm in control. So whoever I click on is what the end user sees. And so basically we can have up to 10 people live, and we can do all sorts of really interesting things and provide amazing content that people don't know about, that ultimately leads to what you really want is the customers and people that you want to interact with. So again, I don't want to take too much time, but again, we did this. We did this really well. I'm proud of you, Trace.
Thank you. And ultimately, I look at this and I go, look, it's not a long, complicated message, but it is one that does three things. It blesses more people's lives. It turns around and it reduces a lot of stress out of the process. And then, you know what? It introduces me to more people than I would just organically get. And I appreciate that. I'm thankful for those who have trust and faith in me and my team, and and those people that I get to help. So, like I said, it's not rocket science. It's not even a magic bullet. It's just good old-fashioned common sense.
Right, and to that end, as you can see, we have this data point here at the end. If you click the link below, whether you're watching live or whether you are watching after the fact, you're going to want to join our email list, or what you can do is we have a contact form. Again, this is a mix of people who are going to be watching this, who are watching this right now. Some of you are interested in a loan or a home, or you just can't figure out. If you want that second opinion, then you want to just join the email list. Or if you're somebody who is a realtor or a loan officer and you want to work with somebody who's been doing this for 25 years, closes 3 to 5 times more loans than anybody else just because you've been up to bat so many more times. I can't even count how many things that I have learned. And I'm not even in the industry, but I go, hey, that's really helpful stuff for me in the future for when I want to get a house and help other people. Not to mention, I have a lot of people who are constantly asking me, hey, how can what you do help me in my industry? And a lot of what Trace has taught me, just by gleaning information from him, has done a huge amount. So again, I encourage any of you realtors, loan officers, even people who are even just considering. There's a lot of millennials such as myself who just don't understand how powerful this industry is, and not just the fact that you can make a lot of money, because that's true. I mean, Trace isn't going to deny it. You make a lot of money in this industry, but what I think is even more important to him is blessing other people's lives, and that's really it. I mean, what do you say, Trace? It like you help people check something off their bucket list, right? How do you say it?
Yeah, look, buying a house is on most people's bucket list, and if I can be a part of that, I'm part of something big, because where people live, it's not just where they, do the laundry and go to bed each night. It's where they hang their stockings on Christmas Eve. It's where they have the family barbecue in the backyard. It's where they make memories. It's where they raise their family. It's the most important place that you're ever going to call home is the place that you own. So when I get a chance to be part of that, it's a big deal. And it's something that I like what I do, but I like why I do it too.
Well said. Very well said. So also, again, this is up here to encourage all of you. But actually, you know what, Trace? I just had a thought since we've really, we nailed this presentation. Do you think maybe Jerry or Troy may want to chime in here? Because they're right here in the office. They're just two doors down. Maybe we can get one of them to maybe say something. Again, sometimes they join in, sometimes they don't, but it's all a part of working together and leveraging this awesome technology, right? So so we're going to see if we can't poke one of these guys. But again, click the link below, join the email list, fill out the contact form if you want to work with somebody who's been doing this for a while. What you also get is working with somebody like me because you're working with Trace, right? So there's back and forth, some feedback and whatnot, right? So it's a synergy that we've got going on here. So what I wanted to point out here is maybe, hey, look at that. Look at that. See, this is the power of Hangouts. Right? We actually do this often when we have meetings. When we have meetings, we'll jump into a Hangout and we'll say, okay, we can't all be here at the same time. So there's a lot of times where other people in the office will just jump on the phone. So I hate to put you guys on the spot, but if Jerry or Troy wants to talk a little bit about this new experience and what you think it can do, not just for you, but for your potential customers.
Go ahead, Jerry. Oh, shit. Just thinking out loud. It's a way of connecting us that we don't really get connected before. Over the phone, we tend to lose our body language and the way that people perceive us, or just that hidden language that you can't really see over text messages, emails, phones. But this being a video, we're able to actually go into it and see what everyone's reactions are. Where we're talking about ideals, when we're talking about campaigns, we're just talking about how we're going to move forward with our relationships. I think that's one of the biggest things I like. The other thing is I can do this from my desktop, or I can go from Troy's desktop as we're in right now, or even if I'm in my car driving, it comes up on my mobile phone, so I can still log in and talk to everyone. I don't have to necessarily do the video, but I can listen to the audio as it's coming through and still give my input on campaigns that we're working on just as a team. So
I also think this is going with this digital kind of marketing, and the more familiar we get with it and can share it with our realtors and other recruiting loan officers and stuff, I think this company will be as well as each of us individually.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll take you guys. I'll move the camera back to the screen share. Take you guys off the spot. I really appreciate you jumping in and being willing to be put on the spot. But it really helps those who want a perspective. Sort of be a fly on the wall and be like, hey, what would that be like? What would it be like to be in the office with Trace and Troy and Jerry? So again, really appreciate that. Now, the other thing is that while this is recording, we can do all sorts of things like, just like the presentation that we did and showed you the power of the second opinion. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Jerry, do you mind if I put you on the spot again?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, the reason why is because actually this whole thing of the second opinion was sort of workshopped by the group, but it was one of those things as we started putting the pieces together. You were one of the people that we said, okay, well, this is a really good idea, and then you mentioned a couple of things that sort of led in this direction. We started out with a let's help these first-time home buyers, and you said, well, maybe a better angle might be something else. Am I triggering your memory enough? Can you sort of take it from there of like how we got to the second opinion?
No, talk a little bit more. I have so many opinions about things.
That's a good point. Well, it was just one of those things that I've been meaning to want to talk to you with a camera because every time I'm in the office, and again, this will make you look a lot better, I promise. Every time I'm in the office, I always go by and you're always talking about something that really challenges my view of marketing. And it's not until you explain it to me that I go, you know what? That was a way better way of explaining it than anything else.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong. You're asking why we need the second opinion, or why I think we need it?
Thank you. Yeah.
So here's my example of a friend of mine. She is a realtor for Century 21. She listed a house. Got it on the market in July of this year, and she's going through, and the sellers she's been under contract since July, right? And so she's been extending the deadline, extending deadline. Finally, we get to October, which is what 3 months later or so, and they're like, we're not extending anymore. Either your buyers are going to buy it, or they're not going to buy it. So the sale completely fell through. And this is after they've been on the hook since July getting this house. So she's gone in and relisted it. And I've told her time and time again, I was like, here's what you need to do. You need to have if you're listing a house, don't take the pre-approval just for face value, because any lender can go out there and go, oh yeah, they're pre-approved, go for it. But it doesn't really matter until you know how they're pre-approving them. Is it over the phone? Are they getting the AUS? How are they doing it? Are they actually looking at their criteria? If they're not looking at their criteria and verifying it, then that pre-approval that the realtors are looking at, it doesn't mean anything. You might as well just write a pre-approval up on some toilet paper and hand it over to them. It's just crap, right?
Well, okay, can I say something?
Yeah, okay. Sorry, go ahead and finish your point, Jerry. Tracy, you wanted to say something though?
Yeah, I was going to jump in and say, look, in my opinion, pre-approvals are really only good for two things. Number one is lining your bird cage, and the other one is wrapping dead fish. But other than that, they're completely worthless, okay? Yeah. So, the joke in my office is I'm pre-pregnant, pre-dead, and a pre-millionaire. And soon I'm going to be a pre-astronaut. So, so I look at this and I go, look, my mom taught 7th grade English for like 40 years. And I went early on in my career, I went to go get her into a house, and I told her, I said, we're going to pre-approve you. And she said, I know what prenuptial is. I know what prehistoric is. Matter of fact, I know pre means before. So you're going to get me a before I'm approved, or before, pre-approval, pre-qualified, same thing. Before I'm approved, before I'm qualified. And so I was like, oh yeah, I catch your meaning. So I said, okay, great. Let's just get you approved. Look, if you want to save thousands of dollars during the transaction, especially in the negotiation, you walk to the door and say, look, I know we're competing with multiple offers, but everyone that you're talking to is pre-approved. I'm actually approved. And as a result, look, the process is to approve the client and to approve the property. So once the client's approved, then you're just left with the property, which is an appraisal, title work, contract. You're a mad dash to the finish line, and you're done. You can get it done a lot sooner. So if you can turn around and say, look, everyone out there is going to take 30 to 45 days, I can get it done in 2 weeks. Look, you're going to, and you go, but if I do this, I want you to clean the carpets, leave the fridge, drop the price, pay my closing fees, move out in 2 weeks. And they'll go, oh, yeah, because you're approved, not pre-approved. And it's a big deal. So like Forrest Gump, that's all I have to say about that.
Very, very well said. Now, Jerry, if there's anything else you want to add to that, feel free. But I was also a little curious, since we're already here, you do have a bit of a passion that we were talking about before, so much so that we even created a Facebook page and a Facebook group. We can get into that in a little bit, but I would like to touch a little bit on why you're so passionate about veterans and what it is that you do. Again, so much so that we created a page to help we'll get into that in a second. But again, I would like to get for future reference, we can get this little cool little clip. But just that genuine, real concept of just who you are and the people that you want to help.
Okay, so going back to helping veterans, you sort of have to get my mindset when I was a little kid. I remember in third grade, they said, hey, tell us 3 things you want to do in the world. And I want to be a police officer. I want to move to Maine. I want to see the Great Salt Lake, right? And so from my very young ages, I wanted to serve and, help the greater good. And so my veteran status comes from just being a veteran myself. At 21 or so, I joined the military. I stayed in for 10 years, did some time over in Germany, time in Iraq, and sort of traveled around and saw, just built this camaraderie or so that I have with people. So I feel like that they're my family. I just want to help them. Coming out of the service, going through college, get my accounting degree, then figure out that I don't like pulling my eyelids back as I'm sitting in a cubicle. I went on over to become a loan officer. And now I'm a loan officer. I look around, I see different companies that are not attacking veterans, but they're what I call loan churning. They're going after the veterans because it's good loan system. I think it's really the best loan they have. But they know the veterans don't have time to be educated on their home finances. And once they figure this out, they can go after them. They go, hey, how about we put you on an ARM? Well, now let's take you out of the ARM, put you on a fixed rate. And we're going to let you skip a month's payment, let you do this, that. And if you serve with the veterans, you know that a lot of them they don't go to college, right? If they do have schooling, they don't really, well, at least when I was in, no one taught me how to budget my finances. There's a lot of homegrown education that I just didn't get as a soldier. And I didn't get it until after I left the military service and entered the civilian workplace and saw how things actually work, where I have to worry about my daily finances and, just things like that. So my whole goal is to reach out to the veterans and not screw them over. I want to show them you don't have to refinance. If you're planning on staying in your home for 5 to 7 years, then let's lock in your rate at a decent low rate and don't touch it. Just make your payments and go for the life of your loan. But if you're not willing to, or if you're planning on going in there and not staying for 5 years, then don't buy down your rates. Don't worry about that. Plus, don't churn go from loan program to loan program. But anyways, I'll go off on a tangent, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, well, but that's the point. Is I wanted to demonstrate and show the passion that you have, because a lot of veterans, it's not that they don't want this service. It's not that they don't want this help. They just don't want some blue falcon flying in and just preying on them. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's what you get a lot of times, because we're not trained as soldiers. We're not trained to identify with that stuff. We're trained to go overseas. We're trained to focus our efforts on other things that aren't financially related. So when it comes to the financial services like we provide, there are companies out there or individuals out there that take advantage of that lack of training. And, essentially, you're right, they do become the blue falcons of the world.
Yeah, and again, this is why I wanted to, again, sort of put you on the spot, not to embarrass you, but to show people the true, genuine side of Jerry, because I've gotten to know you pretty well, and you're a cool guy, and I think veterans need resources and a fellow protector soldier like yourself that they can trust. So also to that end, folks, if you're as you're watching this, I want you to understand that everybody has their own unique way of doing things, how they connect with other people, and that's really what this business is all about, is connecting with other people. And that's what I feel is my job. So as we do this, I want you to see that we did a nifty presentation and all that other kind of stuff, but we want to be here for about 45 minutes to an hour. and we wanted to make sure that all the information was clear and concise. But once we move past that, we get to the real genuine bits and connecting with like human beings, like with Troy and Jerry. So again, if you're interested in being a part of this, you want to go ahead and you want to click the link below, and you want to fill out the form. And at that point, when you fill out the form, you're going to get contacted by either Trace or Troy or Jerry, and they're going to talk to you about, hey, this is what we do, and this is how we can help, and this is how we want to help other people. So to that end, if Trace, if you have anything else that you want to add as we were talking, if there were any ideas that you had, I'm going to go and check and see if there are any questions on these different pages and whatnot, and we may have a little bit of Q&A. So take some time if either of you have anything, maybe you got a joke or whatnot. I need just a few minutes to see if there's any questions.
Yeah, so I would probably say, it's a matter of perspective. I come from a family of storytellers or joke tellers, however you want to put it here, but the one that kind of circles our house a lot when we talk about perspective is a story about this husband was talking to his wife about their two twin sons. And the husband said, our sons are like, they're kind of opposite thinkers. And she said, what do you mean? She goes, well, one's really, really optimistic, and the other one's really, really pessimistic. No matter what, it's just the way they are. No. So the husband says, look, I'll show it to you. So he goes to this room where he put the pessimistic son. It's full of games and toys and puzzles and all kinds of just fun things to do. And the kid's in there crying. He's upset. And the father says, what's wrong? He goes, there's all these toys and there's no one to play with, and these directions are so hard to read, and this has too many pieces, and this is going on and on about just how terrible this room full of toys and games was. They close the door, and the wife's like, wow, I didn't expect that. And so he goes, let me show you the other one. So I go out to the garage, and he's put all his horse manure in the garage, and the optimistic son's out there, and he's digging and sliding and just going crazy into this horse manure. And the dad says, what are you doing? He goes, well, with all this manure in here, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere. So
I love that story.
Yeah. So it's one of these things. It's a matter of perspective. How do you take what you have and look at it in the most optimistic light here? I look at this and I go, you know what? Having people come to me and get a second opinion is not about, hey, I'm giving them a second opinion. I tell people all the time, whether or not I do your financing, I'll help you figure out and obtain the lowest cost of borrowing possible. And, in reality, I probably have 80% that go, you know what, you did a great job. You've offered me insight, stuff I didn't know. We want to use you. And other times it's like, oh, my brother-in-law looks at Wells Fargo and you have to use him. And I go, look, take what I've given you and use it to obtain that transactional cost that you're looking for. So
yeah, that's a really good perspective. And the other thing that I like is that just that point that you brought up earlier, as a loan officer or a realtor, doing that second opinion is such a simple thing. It totally makes sense to everybody. So why not? Furthermore, you get practice. You just get more times up at bat. So even if they go no, you go in and expect that you're going to hear a no, but you have more time to get up to bat and practice through all the no's so that you're really good when they're ready for a yes.
Exactly right. Anyway, did you find any questions out there, Zane?
The big burning question that we've got that I keep seeing coming up is just what is the definition of a rescue loan? There's a lot of people, myself included, who are like, okay, I thought either you just got approved or you didn't get approved. I didn't know that there was a process. There was something in there where, it could still be alive. Let's rescue this thing. I've just had so many experiences where it was just like, no, and that was it. It wasn't like, hey, Zane, let's rescue your loan. It was just like, no. But there seems to be a lot of situations, or at least, like you said, you're the king of rescue loans. Trace, maybe you can give us some perspective of what that is, and maybe that'll give some people a little bit of hope that, hey, maybe they should push for, like, hey, maybe you should look at my loan because there could be a rescue loan.
Right. Okay. So when you do a transaction, there's 4 areas of your life that they look at over the last 2 years: how much you make, how much you spend, what's your credit like, and what's your out-of-pocket down payment like. And I'll give you an example. If you're looking at your credit, which is a really big popular one, you could have a low credit score. Now, most, and I say most, probably 95% of the lenders out there sell their loans. And whoever they're selling their loans to, they have an extra set of rules. They're called overlays. So an example is that if you're W-2, well, let's say you work at Walmart, okay? So all you're required to show is your W-2. If you're self-employed, you have to do your taxes, okay? So it's kind of a difference, okay? However, one of these overlays says we want to see taxes from everybody, okay? So this neighbor comes to me and he says, hey, can you help me with a loan? And I said, sure. I said, what's the problem? He goes, well, I work at a box store, like a Walmart type of thing. He said, I make $50,000 a year or $60,000 a year, and which is enough to buy it. I said, great. What's the problem? He goes, well, my wife teaches piano lessons. She writes off sheet music and miles and stuff like that just to pay less taxes. And she loses on paper about 10 grand a year. So the underwriter looks at him and says, oh, you're a W-2 guy. Let's get your taxes. And it says 60,000 for you, minus 10 for the wife. You make 50. And I said, well, let's just do this. Let's just do the loan in your name. Just do the W-2s, and we don't get the taxes. He goes, well, everybody needs taxes. I said, no, everybody that sells a loan needs taxes. If you're like me and you keep all your loans, you don't need it. So in this particular case, it was a rescue loan. It was one of these things that I didn't have to do it the same way other people were doing. I was able to pull it out of the trash can, put it into the cash can. Okay, so these guys were able to, salvage a transaction because they came and talked to me. And then once again, it was a rescue loan. It wasn't out there. Had they come to me in the beginning, I would have said, look, let's do this. We'll leave the wife off the loan. Sally's your aunt, Harry's your uncle, we're closing. So, but a rescue loan is basically a loan by where you can take a financial pieces of the puzzle and arrange them in a way that makes a better picture.
Awesome. All right. Yeah.
I have one thing to add to that. Talking about the situation earlier with my realtor, they list the house in July, and they're coming now to where at this point, if someone were to take over this buyer's loan, it would become a rescue loan. And like Trace is saying, I told the people, I was like, send it over to us, we can take care of it, no problem. More likely, just from what we've seen in the past, we can get it done. But this is where the second opinion comes in. You want to get the second opinion early, because these sellers have been dealing with these buyers for so long. They're just fed up with them. They're tired of extending. They're doing everything in it. Even though we could get the loan turned around and actually have that closing, these sellers are like, no, we're not messing with these buyers anymore. We're just done. So I don't care if they can close. We're not giving them another option to close. So going back, I'd say before you, like Trace is saying, before you get to the rescue loan status, try to get that second opinion. And
no, that makes sense. Is my audio sounding wonky?
No, it sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, because I do have so here's what we're gonna do. Trace, I want to ask you about you had mentioned something that it sounded like it saved a whole bunch of money on something really, really obvious, and that was mortgage insurance. But hold that thought for a second, right? So we're going to come back to you, and you're going to answer that. But either Troy or Jerry or both, I would like you guys to take a moment and tell everybody in the in the YouTube sphere maybe an experience that you had with a realtor that you were just really impressed with. It's another thing that I want to add to this level. It's not just all about us, and what we're doing. We also want to show that we're team players. We work together, and it's important for us to show the best of what we think of other people. So we'll start with Trace and this whole mortgage insurance thing that just seems like, again, it's an Occam's razor sort of thing, the simplest solution, but it seems almost too obvious you don't even think about it. And then we'll circle back to Jerry and or Troy and just give us an experience of somebody, maybe something recently, a realtor, somebody in the industry that just really impressed you recently, if you guys got something like that. So how about it, Trace?
So about 2 Christmases ago, I had a rescue loan where a buddy I work with at a credit union had come to me and says, I got these clients, they doing a small 5% down and they can't do it here. So they says we help them out. So I started working with them, and just then both the realtors, the listing agent and the buyer's agent said, no, I have a loan guy and he'll help them out. So both loan guys took a look at it and said, oh, no, we can't do this. And so I said, oh yeah, I can do it. And the first thing the realtor said is, look, I got a credit union and 2 brokers that have said no, but you can do it. I said, yes. They're like, how can you do it? And I said, look, I'm not gonna help you walk this across the finish line with somebody else. I said, if you want me to do it, I'll do it. And I said, once I get the docs out, I'll tell you. So I got the documents out right before Christmas, and the realtor was like, you got to tell me how you did it. And I said, it's real easy. I said, in a transaction this size, there's about $5,000-6,000 of loan fees. And I said, in the contract, you negotiated for the seller to pay like $11,000. It was just way overkill, but money was there. It's kind of a use it or lose it situation. So I said, look, what these guys are going to pay mortgage insurance for roughly, organically, they'll pay for 9 years. But if you pay roughly half it up front, about 4 years up front, you can do it here. It was about $200. So 4 years or 48 months times $200 came to be about $8,000 type of thing here. So I was like, look, I got more than enough money to do it. Let's just do it. So I bought out the mortgage insurance, which was about $200, a little bit more actually. And by having their payment come down, they were qualified. They just fit into the box. And again, it wasn't that oh, I was better than anybody else. It was just I had more times up to bat, and I knew that this was something they could do. And more importantly, I saw $11,000. I was like, holy smokes, how are you going to? Where will you spend a lot of money? And I thought, well, just balance mortgage insurance. And these guys, I got to tell you, trust me when I tell you, they're at home going, people in their house, neighbors are asking, how's your new house? And they're going, yeah, we put 5% down and we don't have mortgage insurance. They're bragging about it to anybody that'll listen, okay? But more importantly, they got a great house, smoking payment, and you know what? They got in before Christmas, which is, like I said, where they hang their stockings. And this was an important part about who they are, where they're living, and how they're raising their family. But once again, super easy solution to a super kind of odd situation, but multiple times up to bat gave me the answer.
Awesome. Okay, thanks. All right, so Troy or Jerry or both, I don't know if you want to do this in unison. Do you guys have an experience where somebody in the industry, not specifically in the mortgage industry, maybe outside of it, realtor, title company person, do you have an example of that? Because I want to show again, the relationship that I've been seeing as an outside perspective over the last 3 weeks, and just how impressed I am with you guys, because all you do is just, hey, these guys are great and these guys are great, and this is how we can all work together to get these bucket lists, these things checked off of people's bucket lists and get the house that they really want. Anything?
I have one realtor in mind. We did a couple of deals together this summertime, and one of the deals was actually a VA loan, but I contacted her and let her know we had the veteran, and she was able to. And initially, he wanted to go in Salt Lake County. As I started looking at homes, and she's sending listings from the hot list, he's picking houses up near I think it was Ogden, and so she lives down here in Riverton, up in Salt Lake and Riverton, but she was still driving them up to Ogden to look at these houses. End result was he chose a house over in West Valley that they just fell in love with, so they got it. But here's the amazing part. They put $500 in earnest money down. So, typically you're coming in with like $1,000 earnest money or whatever, but they came in $500 earnest money, and then they got $4,000 in seller credits. So I was like, and this was, in June time frame when the market was out there, you didn't have to have seller credits, but yet she was able to get 4,000 seller credits, only $500 to hold the space down with earnest money. So that same month, I had this people that they had a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, and they came to me, and they needed help because, Chapter 13 bankruptcy is a little bit tricky, but we know how to do them because we know how to do rescue loans. So I said, sure, I have just the realtor for you. So I called Nancy and I said, hey, Nancy, here's these realtors. Why don't you talk to them? They won't be ready for another 45 days, but let's get it going. So Nancy calls them up. They had great first impression. These people want to start looking at homes like right away. And in the hot market, you don't move right away if your loan's going to take 45 days. That 15-day time frame, you're wasting your time because no one's going to do a contract for that far out. She tells them that. They say, Jerry, we don't like her. She's not giving us what we want. We found this other realtor, and she works right downstairs in the building that I work in. So they went with her. I dealt with this other realtor. They had to pay $3,500 in earnest money, 0 seller credits, and she was trying her hardest to steer them to a title company that had higher fees than what they, the title company we got them for. So every turn around, she was doing worse off than the realtor that we worked with, or I worked with previously, that I'd recommended them to. So I guess my experience is, if we recommend someone to you, trust us that we have a relationship with them. We've closed deals with them, and we know how they function. If you bring someone else in from outside the table, I can't guarantee that we can reel them in and make them give you the better outcome.
That's a really good point. That's a very
Troy?
good.
So, I'm impressed with the realtor that I got. Barbara works for Realty Path. Just a couple of situations. He's very, very pleasant, very nice.
One second, Troy.
Go.
Just step back. Just apparently, like, you're a little too close, and it's not.
Okay.
Oh, now we can hear you. You're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Want to shout out to Barbara with Realty Path. She's a very nice, pleasant lady. She's willing to work on Sundays, which around this place and stuff like that, not everybody's willing to do that. So we've gone together and visited people face to face and stuff like that, even on Sundays. But one of the memorable things with her is we went door knocking one time and it started to rain, and she just said, "We're just going to keep going," and we did. We ran from house to house in the rain, and maybe that got us a little bit of sympathy, so that people actually more people would answer the door and talk to us and stuff. But it's relationships like that are very valuable. And like Jerry said and stuff like that, we do have relationships when we recommend our realtors. These aren't just names and stuff. We've had some experiences with all of them, and we can recommend you realtors that we know that do actually care. Again, like Jerry said, stuff like that will actually give you the best deal with you in mind. And then as Trey said and stuff like that, to the lowest cost, for buying a home, and things like that. So anyway, just shout out to Barbara at Realty Path for that.
Awesome. All right, so we're getting to the end of this here, but I got one more thing, and then we're gonna do what I call our final thoughts, and it's just basically anything that you could think of that that you think that should be mentioned that hasn't been mentioned. So we'll get into final thoughts, but Trace, if you would, I'm going to put you back on the spot. If you could give us a bit of a recap of the whole second opinion, because you were the presenter here. I'm going to have you do the recap, and then I'm going to have Troy and Jerry see if they have any final thoughts. We'll come back to you with final thoughts, and we'll be done with the broadcast. So give us a recap.
Sure. So in all the years I've been doing this and all the rescue loans I've done, it seems to me the thing they all have in common is if they had gotten a second opinion, they would avoid a lot of stress, a lot of grief, a lot of nail biting, hand wringing, because they could go, oh, we got 2 opinions or more, I think, and we are more comfortable with this strategy or this approach. And so the second opinion is kind of a obvious no-brainer to me, that you get a second opinion because it's just better than working through a rescue loan here. When you get a second opinion, one of the things that you're looking for is hey, how am I going to do this and it's not just about what's my rate, what's my fees. It's also about you're paying taxes, you're paying fire insurance. So about 5 years ago, I'm getting my own house, and about $300,000 house, and I send this request over to a buddy of mine who gets a ton of business, and I'm thinking this would be about $500-600 a year. Quote, sends it back, and it's $1,000. I'm like, holy smokes! I should be getting the family deal or the buddy deal or something like that here. So I call him up and I said, why is this so expensive? He goes, well, we're insuring for the replacement cost. So if your house burns down, we can replace it. And I said, hold on a second. I said, I got about $100,000 of dirt. I got a $200,000 house on top of it for a $300,000 home. I said, if the house burns down, the dirt didn't burn down with it. You're not replacing the dirt. I said, you're replacing the $200,000 house on top of it. Why am I insuring dirt? No one's going to steal it. No one's going to burn it down. And he says, well, let me look into that. And so he comes back and he says, well, it's, I said, stop. Just insure the house, not the dirt. So he sends back a quote for $550,000 or $550 a month, a year, right? $550 a year. And I was like, wow, that's about what I expected. But then I got to thinking, how many insurance guys are doing this to my clients, insuring dirt that they don't need to insure? They're going to replace the house, not the thing it's sitting on. So I went to my team and I said, you know what, going forward, I want to make sure that we are not having our clients overpay by insuring dirt. And so there's stuff like that, which is on a second opinion, you're going to get information like, yeah, and Jared will probably tell you, veterans in the county that we're at, if they have a disability, disabled veterans don't have to pay property taxes. So you get your taxes waived. You can pay less on fire insurance. Not about the rate or the fees. I mean, it is about those, but it's also about other moving cogs. I tell this to people all the time. There's a lot of ways you can finance a house, but the right way will always take into account your long and short-term financial goals, your payment, equity objective, tax consequences, insurance needs. There's lots of moving cogs in this machine. And you can go through and the machine will only have a couple of cogs. But, you know, anyway, so there you have it. It's about a second opinion that will help you with more than just the rate and the fees, but with the lowest cost of borrowing overall.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going back to Troy. If you guys could, I had to mute you really quick, but if you could unmute yourselves here. All right, so now we're getting into final thoughts here. Again, if there's anything in the broadcast that you think that should have been mentioned, this is the time to do it. Or just, you know, anything that you've got, maybe you got another shout out or maybe another story. We're wrapping things up, and it looks like we're finished with all the questions and stuff. So wrap up with you guys, or final thoughts with you, and then final thoughts with Trace.
I got one other thing, just to tap onto what Trace is saying about second opinion and insurance and house and stuff. Most people, you know, we get people coming to talk to us all the time just because we are one of the gatekeepers to the clients, and we do control things, or we have access to control things such as homeowners insurance. If you're a veteran with disability, then you get either no property tax, or you can get discount property tax depending on what property or what county you live in and stuff. But going back to the insurance thing that Trace was hitting on, a lot of the times these insurance agents, they'll want to charge you more for that because they actually get paid off the premiums that they're charging you. So if you know they're charging $1,500 a year, they get paid for that. If they're charging $700 a year or $500 a year, they get paid less. So it's in their interest to bump it up higher for them, and so you know they make more money. Going back to the other thing I was going to say, holy crap, I forgot. Trace has had a great way of explaining builder preferred lenders for builders. I don't know if we want to cover that here, or if he wants to cover that later on. But he has a great way of explaining the difference between sometimes you go with them, other times it's more of a scam. I know that he just closed a loan for one of his brothers who it wasn't to his brother's benefit to go with a preferred lender as it was going with us. But,
yeah, you got anything to weigh on that, Trace? Do you know what he's referencing?
Yeah. So my oldest brother bought a house here this last summer, and he went with the builder, and the builder was offering a $4,000 credit if he uses preferred lender. I always tell people, look, no one gives away $4,000. It's built in there somewhere. But long story short, the builder, the lender for the builder, wanted my brother to pay off like $40,000 of consumer debt and then come in with another $10,000 down payment. And I told him, I said, you don't have to pay off anything, and I can have you come with a 0 down payment, and you're going to pay no mortgage insurance. And it was just, one was a night and day, you know, this is financially better for me than the other. So he ended up using me, but he went back to the builder and said, I'd be happy to use your guy if you didn't have a retarded option. So he goes, I want you to still pay my $5,000 or my $4,000 because I tried your guy. He just it was a no bueno, I think so. He goes, so anyway, long story short, he got a smoking good financial picture and he got the credit from the builder.
I love that. I would totally choose you if your option wasn't so awful.
Yeah, that's about what exactly what it was. So,
good. Well said, Jerry. Any final thoughts, Troy?
Maybe just a quick one. On the second opinion thing, it also includes that we could like pull the credit and see what we can do. Our magic lender can do to raise credit scores and stuff. Jerry and I are working on one right now that, I mean, it's phenomenal what we can do, especially even working together and stuff, to help you raise your credit score, which of course highly affects your outcome for the loan. But I don't know if that was mentioned earlier. I apologize if it was and stuff. But just, you know, get a second opinion. Yeah, we're in it for you ultimately and stuff like that. So we'll work hard, especially knowing that we're your second opinion and stuff like that. It's just more motivating for us to capture that business and do a good job for you.
Well, that's actually an interesting point. I just asked, typed in here to the chat box, see if anybody was curious about credit repair, and we got a lot of response. We're now into the hour of what we promised. We said we'd be here for an hour. If you guys are interested in talking about the credit repair, we can go ahead and get into that, but we may be a little bit over that. The audience is okay with it. Are you guys? I mean, you guys got to go. I mean, we can always pick this up later, but it seems like there's a lot of interest in the credit repair.
I have a ton of stuff on credit repair. I'd probably say that if we came back to it just a little bit more prepared with links and PDFs and stuff like that to offer, that'd be my recommendation. I say we keep it to an hour because everybody's time is valuable. And then we can give another one out and have people, you know, chime in for that one when we're ready.
Well, there we go. You always leave them wanting more. So, all right, with that in mind, Trace, why don't you lead us out with your final thoughts, and we'll go ahead and end the broadcast.
Yeah, no, want to tell everybody thank you. I know time is valuable, and I'm glad you're willing to share yours with us. If you guys have any questions about getting a second opinion, as a customer, if you have any questions about how do second opinions increase your business as a lender or a realtor, I'd be happy to share. There's a lot of people who are of the mindset that you have to hoard this information. I'm kind of the opposite. I think there's a big fraternity of us, whether a lender or realtor. Our function in this is to help get more people into homes. And I think it's a great thing to share with everybody because at the end of the day, it just blesses more lives. And like I told you at the beginning, I like what I do, but I also like why I do it.
All right, fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and wave goodbye as we end the broadcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Ciao.